Hello and welcome to our next class of the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative. I hope all of you are doing good and I really hope that you are now settled after the prelims examinations. I know a lot of you still have a lot of anxiety about the prelims examination, whether you would clear it or not. It will all get clear in just the next few days. So rather than you disqualifying yourself and saying, oh, I will not get it done, rather than you giving up all the efforts, my only advice to everyone is continue your preparation, assuming that you have already cleared the prelims. Because the next 10 days or so, by the time that the result comes in, it will be extremely crucial that you make the best use possible of all those days. And what is a better use of that than by practicing answer writing? And that is why I think that all of you should be very regular in this initiative. This is class number 48. For those of you who are new here, for those of you who do not know, every single day at 7 p.m. we have this session where we discuss a previous year question that is UPSC has asked. We discuss that topic, see what kind of answer can be written. I also give you a homework at the end so that you can also practice your answer writing skills. You can send it to me also for feedback. I'll be happy to evaluate that. If you're new here, do hit the subscribe button before we begin. Now let's begin very quickly. However, before I take up today's question, I also would like to remind you, I recently released a compilation of 101 model essays for the UPSC examination. As you know, essays are one of the most important papers in the UPSC Mains examination. It's highly scoring. I personally know people who have scored 150 plus in the essay examination out of 250. So it's extremely crucial that you master this. If you are out of touch of essay writing, this booklet will be extremely helpful for you. You can buy this through my app. My app, the link is in the description of the video. This booklet is just 499 rupees and it includes essays on a lot of philosophical topics on the same trends where the UPSC asks these questions. So you can go through that. It will be extremely helpful to understand these topics and see how to interpret these in the examination. With that out of the way, let's see how do we start writing an answer. If you are new here, if you have not attended any of these classes in this series, my request for you will be to go to the description of the video. I have given the link of the entire playlist. Go to class number 1. In the first class of this series, we have discussed about how to structure an answer, how to write the introduction, the main body and the concluding argument, what to write in the intro, what to write in the main body, every single thing we have discussed there. So if you are new here, if you still have no idea how to begin answer writing, I would highly recommend you to go and see class number 1. Once that is done, let's come back to what we will be discussing today. Today we have taken up a question from 2022 GS paper 3. It's a question from environment. Discuss in detail photochemical smog, emphasizing its formation, effects and mitigation. Explain the 1999 Gothenburg Protocol. Now, if you actually see this question, they're asking you 4 things specifically. Number 1, formation of smog. Number 2, the effects of smog. Number 3, the mitigation. And number 4, the Gothenburg principle. Now, the interesting part is if you don't know the Gothenburg Protocol, you would not be able to attempt the 4th part. You will not be able to write anything about the 4th part because these are things where you cannot really make a guess. Either you know it, great. If you don't know it, you can't really do anything. So we will focus on answering all these 4. If you miss out on any of these 4, there will be marks deducted. So make sure that you focus on all these 4. The main body should include all these with separate headings, ideally speaking. How will we write the introduction? As you know, in the introduction, we usually go ahead with a definition or a fact. So if you have a fact about photochemical smog, great, you can do that. Or if you don't have a definition, or if you don't have a fact about photochemical smog, then you can go ahead with definition. Now what can be a fact? Let's say you read some report that talked about the number of people who have died because of this, or a report that says how many people have fallen ill because of this, or any country that has taken a drastic step in relation to photochemical smog. So if you have that kind of a fact, that can be a good beginning. If you don't, then don't worry, you just write with the definition. So this is how we will start with the definition. Photochemical smog is a mixture of pollutants that are formed when nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compound, that is VOCs, react with sunlight, thus creating a brown haze above the cities. Simple plain definition. Again, if something recently regarding this would have happened, if it was in the news, then it would have been ideal to mention that. Why is it in the news? To connect that to the answer. But since it's a very generic static question, we will start with this. Now, in the main body, we had to write three things. Remember, the formation, the effects, and the mitigation. So we'll start with the formation. How does it start? So again, it is formed when there is concentration of primary pollutants in the atmosphere. In some cases, related to concentration of secondary pollutants as well. Then we gave a step-by-step process of how it is formed. It appears to be initiated by nitrogen oxides. Absorbing the visible or ultraviolet energy of sunlight, it forms or it converts into nitric oxide. Then it converts to free atoms of oxygen. Then it gets combined with molecular oxygen, so on and so forth. That is the formation part. Simple, easy, straightforward. Once we are done with formation part, second part will be about the effects. Now, remember, keep in mind the word limit. If the word limit, for example, is 150 words, you can't spread it a lot. You have to answer 4 parts here. So you can't really go into a lot of detail. One skill that a lot of you are still lacking, and I've seen that when I check your copies, one skill that you're lacking is writing lesser lines to say more. If you are just saying one simple thing and using 4 or 5 lines for that, it's not impressive because you're eating a lot of words. Try and see, can you write the same thing in 1 line that you are writing in 4 lines or 3 lines? Can you try and compress that? If you can, that will be a very good addition to your answer writing skills. So we read about effects. First, the major effect, it causes eye irritation. Second, it brings ozone to ground level, which becomes extremely toxic. Its symptoms also include decreased vision and shortness of breath and acid rain and eutrophication. There is a longer list. If you want, or if you remember other effects, you can include that as well. Then the third part about mitigation. Mitigation basically means how do we now stop it? How do we try and curtail its impact? So catalytic converters can reduce vehicular emissions. That is a major source of nitrogen, carbon dioxide. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, cleaner vehicles, etc. All these are mitigation efforts. Again, if you have a real example, let's say this country has done this city has done this, China has done this, Beijing has done this. If you have some real examples, you can give examples here as well. Writing, for example, this initiative or this experiment has been launched in this city. Adding a real example always gives a better edge to your answer as compared to the other. So if you have a real example with you, please feel free to write that. The fourth part was about the Gothenburg Protocol. Now, Gothenburg Protocol, these are specific factual stuff. If you know this, you can write. If you don't know this, you can't really make a guess. So this is actually a protocol to abate acidification, eutrophication and ground level ozone. It was adopted in 1999 in a place called Gothenburg, that's in Sweden. It is also called as a multi-effect protocol. It sets the emission ceilings for 2010 for 4 pollutants are the nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, ammonia and sulfur. This is what this protocol is about. Again, these are tricky parts to answer because you can't really make a guess here. Then we'll just write a conclusion about this protocol itself. This protocol is under renegotiation. It was updated in 2012 last, and it includes black carbon and particulate matter as well. In these kind of statements, you can't give a way forward because the mitigation part that you wrote was a way forward only. If you're thinking I'll write a way forward, how to solve the problem of photochemical smog, then in the main body when you wrote about mitigation, it's the same. So you can't really repeat that. And that's why we have written this about this protocol. If the question in the main body would not have included mitigation, then you could have written that as the way forward. But in this case, that is already taken. This brings us to the end of this answer. And now time for you to hone your skills and write an answer. The question is, assess the importance of elephant corridors in preserving ecological harmony. Evaluate the obstacles faced in restoring connectivity between elephant corridors in India and propose strategies for their successful protection in the face of developmental challenges. You have 200 words to write this answer. If you want, I'll be happy to evaluate that. You can send it here. All the details of the programs that I'm running, Mastering Mains Answer Writing Program, the essay writing booklet, the PSIR comprehensive course, all of that is in the description of the video. You can contact me whenever you want. There's a number given initially and on the posters, and there's also an email ID here. If you're new here, do hit the subscribe button. Do join me tomorrow at 7 p.m. for the next session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.